Kings, Queens, and In-Betweens, welcome back to City Boys Extra Time. My name is Ethan Thornton, and I am joined by the Bandana Banana Man, Grayson Knight, and we are here to recap all of the action in the MLS this weekend. We had some crazy games between the East and the West. San Diego took on FC Dallas and beat them 5-0. Columbus took on Charlotte and won 4-2. There was only one interconference game this week between DC United and Colorado, and DC United ended up taking that 2-1. Before we get into any of it, though, Grayson, my good friend in soccer, how are you doing tonight, brother?
Wow, check this out.
Ooh.
See, now you guys all feel exactly how I felt. That's a new bald boy trick I've learned. I can make everyone feel my emotions. So I hope you're feeling just as good as me because I'm having a great night.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. Yeah. You know what? Suddenly my
You feel
spirits
it?
are just a little bit higher,
You feel
Grayson.
it? Your hair's gonna start falling out too.
Oh
Sorry.
no.
Side effect.
No.
Bummer. Bummer.
No, man, it was an awesome time watching some MLS games this weekend. Honestly, it could have ended before Sunday night soccer. That game was
Uh,
a weird one to watch. I wonder how the MLS, the scheduler had to feel good like, last season going into that game. They're like, "Oh, good, next year's champions, everyone. That's must see TV. Everyone will want to watch them versus another OG, the
it'd be
Wiz
great.
versus the Galaxy. That's a classic matchup. Who wouldn't want to see that?"
Oh,
Damn near
that
everyone who watched the game, brother.
was a rough one. That was a rough one.
Well, Grayson, we're talking about him. Why don't we talk about? Let me kick us off over
Yeah.
in the West between Sporting Kansas City and the Los Angeles Galaxy, where Sporting Kansas City would end up victorious in a game they did not even shoot the ball in.
That's just crazy.
Grayson, soccer is just a beautiful sport. We were talking about this before the episode. I think the only other sport you might be able to score without playing
Boring.
offense in is baseball, where you can just get walked around the bases potentially
Yeah.
without getting a hit. I genuinely don't think there's any other sport in which you need to shoot the ball or hit a ball and score that where you can do this. So
I guess maybe tennis if your opponent just serves everything out and then hits everything out. But I don't know if that counts if you hit it as well.
look, all I'm
Not the
saying is that
same.
we have to get into some pretty crazy scenarios and pretty crazy situations for that to be the case. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that soccer is the only sport in which this can happen. All right. I think that people got what they predicted with this bottom of the West matchup. The LA Galaxy pretty much dominated the entire game. They were absolutely 100% the better side on the night, but they could not capitalize on all of their chances. They are still on the lookout for their first victory, Grayson. This is pretty
Sad.
shocking stuff from the Los Angeles Galaxy. As a former G yourself, can you speak to this at all? Do you know what's going on? Can you diagnose the issue in LA?
Well, I think the issue in LA has been around for a long time. Like this LA Galaxy side just kind of randomly got good last year. Of course, we did have a lot of good players coming into the squad. We've had Ricky Puig for years, but it seemed like just nothing would seem to go right for the Galaxy. They made it to the playoffs the year beforehand, got knocked pretty early. It just wasn't in the cards. And this year, or this past season, everything seemed to be going right. Players were scoring. They had one of the best midfields in the league. Of course, they did have to get rid of not two kind of kind of sleeper players in Mark Delgado and
Very.
I'm blanking on the other guy's
Fagundes,
name.
right?
I'm sorry.
Fagundes?
Not Fagundes. They still got Fagundes. That's the issue. Uh,
That was the one they should not have retained.
yeah, yeah. No, their midfield has gone down a lot. You know, they still have some very talented players in this side. It just seems like nothing can go right for them. And I think that is partly due to mentality. They still have a ton of skilled, ultra skilled players on this team. They should be able to
Oh
walk
yeah.
Sporting Kansas City, and it shows in how they play. They play very possessive with the ball. They just can't seem to put it in the back of the net right now.
Was surprised that their striker Christian Ramirez could not find the back of the net. I gave John Pulskamp his credit. I think he's a good goalkeeper. I still don't think the Sporting Kansas City were really up to keeping the LA Galaxy out of their goal though.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that scoreline. I was hoping that LA Galaxy was going to get their first 3 points of the year, but I was wrong.
I had believed that this would be that game for them, and it really just did not pan out. We will move into another California team. This side, though, on the flip side of success, because San Diego FC would dominate FC Dallas with a 5-0 victory. Chucky Lozano would score a brace. And despite an all right performance from Martin Paez, which I think we've come to expect when FC Dallas play, San Diego just smothered FC Dallas. They just did not even have a chance, in my opinion, to build up. I didn't see anything from Dallas in transition, and they have quality on the field. Their attack contains quality. Pedrinho, Lucia Costa, and Musa was back this game, so it's not like they are or Mora, excuse me. No, it is Musa. Oh, I always get them confused. But I just saw San Diego FC assert their dominance on FC Dallas and good performances from their star players in San Diego.
Yeah, I sadly did not get to see that one. I haven't watched that one yet. So I do want to go back because I'm a big fan of some good score lines. So I do need to go back and watch that flurry of goals.
We will move into, oh my God, Grayson, would you believe it? Another Californian team because the LAFC would take on Houston this week and really keep the train rolling. Houston, I believed, looked up to the task in this game. They had a few chances and they got a bit unlucky at times. I just think that LAFC, again, this is a scenario where the better team just won. Uh, Houston do get a late red card. However, I don't think it was very impactful as far as the game goes. I think a bit of frustration in Houston. They haven't put together as good of a season as I think they were expecting. They have positive signs on the field. We pretty much consistently talk about Jack McGlynn and how good he has been this season or how good he can be in his ceiling. But to put it in perspective for St. Louis City fans, at least, I think Houston and St. Louis City are experiencing a similar season right now, very much underperforming what they have been expecting this year.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting face off. If we do, I think we do play them. Yeah, we'll play them.
We'll play them twice because they're a
They're in our
conference
conference.
opponent.
Yes.
Yeah. I do want to point out a player from uh the Houston Dynamo, Grayson. I know that the City Boys have talked about him off camera, but I definitely want to be sure that we are first investors, we are first movers on the Obafemi Awadesu wave. He is
I knew you were going to say that.
he's coming around, all right, and not just because he's an American, a young American player. He got drafted by the Houston Dynamo from Penn State. He played a season with their second team. He made his debut for the team this season, and now he's a consistent starter for the team. I think that is just a story that a lot of American kids, what soccer player couldn't look up to that story? A team getting drafted and coming up through the ranks of the team.
I
Not
think,
to mention,
no,
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. I was just going to say Femi is very active on social media. So,
Exactly.
yeah, a if you are on TikTok, first of all, go follow us. But then go follow Femi Owadesu. He's pretty. It's pretty cool. He just does like match day vlogs, kind of talking about what it is like to be a professional footballer,
Yeah.
and it's also extremely funny because Houston is not doing too well right now. And what you said about kids looking up to a player like Femi Owadesu, they are roasting him in the comments
Oh,
all the time, but he is a very good player. He takes it with grace, just like any professional would. He doesn't deserve the hate. He does because he's very class. He's a good
No,
player.
genuinely, he's put in some good performances against Inter Miami, and
Yeah.
like for example, I think he had a good performance against them. But if I'm being completely honest, the highlight reel against LAFC doesn't look too favorably for him. So don't be too critical based on this. Abobasi's second goal to put the dagger in the game goes through his legs, but I rate him. He's a young American center back.
He's good.
He gives that insight that I always dreamed of as a young American player that I wish I could have seen. I think he's a good role model for kids. So if you're a soccer player, I completely recommend checking out Odesu. I think he is a great player. Well, Grayson, we've talked about three other ones. I don't see why we can't make it a fourth. How about we talk about the San Jose Earthquakes versus Portland Timbers?
That's a wild game. Honestly, that's my big scoreline of the week. That is a crazy upset for Portland there.
I mean, yeah, Portland have established themselves as a top team in the West at this point. Well, let's say top five. I'll put them top five, not top three, alongside Vancouver and Minnesota. I
I'd
look,
honestly put them maybe above Minnesota right now, in my opinion. I don't know.
I think that's
That's
a good
tricky.
debate, Grayson, because Minnesota are still in good shape so far this year.
That's
They're not
true.
playing to their best. Maybe have dropped a few results that people expected them to win, but they had a great result against Austin FC that we'll talk about after the San Jose Portland game. Because while Portland do drop points on this game, I think the main focus of this game should be San Jose. Early on this season, I called attention to Christian Espinosa as one of the MLS's most underrated players, and I'm just saying, book it if you are a spectator because Christian Espinosa week after week is electric. If you look at the MLS stats website right now, it is all the San Jose Earthquakes. Pretty much, it might as well be a San Jose fan page right now. Their attack is ice and fire, Grayson. This is such a Bruce Arena team that it's not even
Yeah.
funny because it is the exact kind of team that I remember the US being when he took over when we were in bad shape. And this is the kind of hot and cold that the New England Revolution had while he was in charge there. Look, the best part about San Jose right now is their attack. Christian Espinosa, Chicho Arango and Joseph Martinez are obviously the highlights. Those are three of the best attackers in the MLS. But I also want to call attention to Oseni Buddha. I might be butchering his name there, but Buddha is a great player for the San Jose Earthquakes. He has become another integral part of their attack and a very good player, Grayson.
Hmm.
Also, a player that we have a little bit of experience with, DeJuan Jones joined them before the transfer window closed. And oh my God, I don't think DeJuan Jones could have found a better situation if he was asked to draw it out himself. He gets to fly into the attack and he is feeding some of the MLS's best attackers. It's we could see DeJuan Jones wearing the red, white, and blue one day.
Yeah, he has before. I think he could do it again. The right back spot is highly coveted and very contested, so it is extremely difficult to get in that spot. But you know, I think he's a great player. You know,
And this is a completely different conversation because Serginho Dest is very much a one of
go.
one player and
He's special.
also getting back to health. I'm just saying it's nice for the US to have good options at the outside back position. Well, Grayson, you alluded to it earlier, mentioning Minnesota FC's kind of underperforming so far this season. But here's why they are still top three in the West. Their record is 5-4-2. They're managing results. Okay, they have only lost two times on the season, and it is paid off dividends for them. It's funny though. Ilie Sanchez does not make the smart choice in this game and does end up getting on the score sheet for Minnesota United. Not ideal for him. Another unexpected player making on the score sheet for Minnesota United, though, Grayson, someone that we know very well, Anthony Markinich getting on the score sheet. Wild stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Congrats, man.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I think that I really appreciate this result from Minnesota United though, because in my eyes, it exposes Austin as the fraudulent team that they are. All three
It's
teams from
fair.
Texas getting bad results this weekend. Dallas, Austin, and Houston all got blanked. No goals coming out of Texas this week. Tough. I
Yeah.
do think that look, that I think that I'm being nice about Austin FC's attack at this point. $30 million and no goals spent. Grayson, we have got the same kind of production that Brandon Vasquez provides them on a weekly basis.
Yeah, it's not looking too good for him right now. He has had some good moments off the ball as well, but it's
Oh
kind of
yeah,
different. I mean, it feels pretty hypocritical talking about Brandon Vasquez when we, love Joao Klaus, but at the same time, I think that Joao Klaus brings more when he's not scoring than Brandon Vasquez does when he's not scoring.
yes, you're right on your point about Joao Klaus offering more than just goals. And also, we have been pretty critical of Joao Klaus. We do like him as a player, but I
That's
think that
true.
we completely agree that as far as his production goes for his cost, it has not
It's not great.
yeah, it hasn't equaled out. I don't want Brandon Vasquez to just be the scapegoat for Austin FC because it's not like they invested $10 million two other times. Mirta Uzuni and Osman Bakari also have not been good enough for them so far this season. This is purely on field performances that I'm critiquing. I'm sure their front three are good guys. I don't want, I think about that sometimes. I don't want to be personally mean to
Yeah,
these players,
yeah, that's
but
fair. But we have to be critical. It is
I,
our
we would be
future jobs. We would,
We'd be
yeah.
delusional otherwise, Grayson. All right. Also, for Minnesota United, taking a huge loss this season as they lost to Hassani Dotson to injury, most likely for the rest of the season. I'm not 100% sure on what the injury is. However, he's had that goal of the year contender early on this season, that side volley that was absolutely disgusting. That's a big loss for this Minnesota United team. Grayson, I have two more games. Bear with me. First, I'm going to talk about St. Louis City SC versus Seattle. If you want to hear more about that game, go check it out. Our last episode on St. Louis City versus Seattle, because I actually don't have any more words to say about that game. Credit to Seattle. They absolutely stomped St. Louis, but
Yeah,
I don't have it in me to talk anymore, to bring any more negativity into the soccer world, Grayson.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It was a rough outing.
To put it lightly, a rough outing for St. Louis City SC, and we are very grateful for the midweek Open Cup match that could bring some positives. All right. Fair play from Seattle. They did dominate in the
Yeah,
attack, though.
they
Okay.
did put in the work.
I don't want to discredit Seattle, but St. Louis City played pretty bad. Anyways, the final game, Grayson, our interconference matchup, the sole game this week between DC United and Colorado. Surprisingly, DC United takes this one 2-1 in a very end-to-end match. Christian Benteke scores on his return from injury. I always love bringing that up around you.
Oh yeah.
And another former STLSC player, Jose Kahima, nets a goal. Could you say that's a theme for the whole weekend, Grayson?
Yes, I think that is the theme for this weekend is former STL players can score, current STL players cannot. It's- that's just honestly insane that we had so many players formerly in City Red, now in other colors, just putting it in the back of the net, of course. We'll get into the other ones. We'll have the full list at the end of the video because there's a
Mhm.
couple more. There's a couple more.
I will say Georgi Mihailovic had a really good chance early on to put Colorado in front. It's one of those that's surprising when you see Mihailovic not finish goals at this point. We've talked about how good he's been for Colorado so far, so I would look out for him next week to make an impactful kind of play. Kahima looks to be incredible at creating chances for DC United. I wasn't sure how he would fare in a more attacking role for DC, but he has really thrived. He's done well with Christian Benteke, and this finish was honestly superb. He finds himself a little bit in front of the ball, readjusts to get back behind it, and puts it into the far post off a good volley.
It's kind of like a little scissor kick, a little diving scissor kick there. Is very clean. Right before that, he also had like a curling effort that hit the crossbar. Like
Mm,
this was a very good game for Kahima. And I think you're right. Like playing him on the wing is something we didn't really get to see too often for St. Louis City, and he looks good out there.
yeah, they did try him a little bit at right wing back or right back for City too, but we did never get to see him thrive in that role. And it looks like that is where he thrives. He can read the game very well from those positions and anticipate well as on the counter press. I think he's fantastic. Also, Zach Steffen had a good save early on to keep Colorado in this game, but questionable on the DC United second goal. He gets a hand of the shot, but can't keep it out. I mentioned that it's a good finish from Jose Kahima, but I don't know, Grayson. We've been back and forth about Zach Steffen so far this season.
Yeah.
I still am not able to come up with a definitive answer. I will say I don't think he's top five in the league right now.
There's so much competition in the MLS for keepers. I feel like all like at any moment, a shitty keeper can become the best keeper in the league. So we'll see. We'll see.
True.
I'm not saying Zach Steffen is a shitty keeper. I think he's quite good. I think in comparison to some of the performances we've seen this year, like he's had some crazy good performances as well too. This week was just not his week. I think for me, this game was just crazy because got like all three goals during the extra time of the first half.
Wild time period to score goals. I feel like that's a time where you see a goal, never this many though.
All the goals of the entire match.
Wild. Well, Grayson, I'm sorry to do this, but I actually forgot a game. The Vancouver versus RSL game. I know
Oh
I'm
yeah, yeah, yeah,
ashamed.
yeah, yeah.
I'm very ashamed. How could I forget the top of the Western Conference Vancouver Whitecaps by some margin, by the way. They are looking fantastic so far this season. Also, important to note that in this game, no Brian White, no problem for Vancouver. I think that
Yeah.
people were interested to see how they would fare without their star talisman, and they didn't miss a beat, dude. They are really like that this year.
Yeah.
Vancouver is very much like that. Jaden Nelson, incredible player. Tristan Blackman, incredible player. And not to mention, no Sebastian Berhalter in this game. My word, what a player he's turning into. He is really coming into his own in
Yeah.
Vancouver.
There's, yeah, it's definitely not a one-man show, even though it very well could be, because
Mhm.
Brian White loves to score five by himself. But no, yeah, they're a very good side. I was just gonna say Jaden Nelson again, so good, so good.
I know he and Diego Luna, who played against each other in this game, are competing for Young Player of the Year, in my opinion. Jaden Nelson's production gives him maybe an edge, but Diego Luna's influence cannot be understated in this RSL team. While they do have players of quality like Navajo and Peel, he is a step above Grayson. I don't know how long he'll stay in Salt Lake because if they can't build a team around him to succeed, I don't foresee him remaining in that situation.
Yeah, I think he's good enough to make his own path, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I think Diego Luna could probably hack it in any league.
Yeah,
If Brendan Aronson can go hack it in the Prem in the championship, look, I think Diego Luna can too. And that's no insult to Brendan Aronson. It's just, I think, a compliment to Diego Luna's quality.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
To round out the West, Grayson, the table looks a little bit something like this: Vancouver, Minnesota, Portland, and San Diego as the top four. Kind of surprising to see San Diego cracking that top four, but it is refreshing to see Austin dropped out. Seattle moves toward the top five in seventh place now. Colorado behind them. FC Dallas with the final playoff spot as of right now. San Jose in 10th, which is kind of surprising. I feel like they just seem like more of a sixth or seventh place team. We'll see how that shakes out. Our playoff contender prediction for San Jose though looking very good, Grayson. It's looking all
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, for
Looking,
being in that spot with a +4 goal difference is kind of crazy.
dude, like that is they're the only team below seventh with a positive goal difference. It makes no sense, man.
And Austin has -6 goal difference in there in sixth. Like that's just it's just soccer doesn't make sense sometimes. It's all right.
Uh, well, the bottom of the West contains the former champions still only on 3 points, and that gap between 15th and 14th is really growing for the Galaxy. It's now 7 points between them and the Houston Dynamo. They really need to turn things around quickly if they want to have any hope of anything this season.
Yeah. And just hurts to say that Kansas City are currently above St. Louis City on the table based on I think the amount of wins because that's about the only thing they can hold over us. So pain.
You
Pain for
read
the
that right, Grayson. I was gonna avoid that little fact, but
I had to. I had to.
well, brother, take us through the East.
Deal. I will take us through the Eastern Conference. This week we started off with Atlanta hitting a 1-1 draw against Nashville. Honestly, a pretty good result for Atlanta here. I think
Yep.
Nashville really took over, very slightly favored, but Guzan again doing good to keep them out of the net. They had a good goal from Almiron to start the game. Lennon fires one in. Nashville's back line's pressed up like right against the goal, so it's a nice, easy little tap in for Miggy there. And then Daniel Lovitz, the center back, I believe, from Nashville,
Hmm.
taps it in from a volley. Perfect placement there to the bottom left corner to beat the keeper. Honestly, I think this could be a very positive result for Atlanta. I think in this game, they weren't looking the most positive. They had their chances, but still not as good as we saw them at the beginning of the season. I think they're still looking for that edge. I think Latte Loff is kind of at a patch right now, but I think he'll be back. He
Yeah.
looked good. He
Yeah,
almost
that's
could have given away a penalty as well. He was bear hugging Sam Surridge in this game multiple times in the box. No
dude,
call, but
nothing scarier than seeing your striker defend on a set piece.
it's
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. You're guaranteed to have a kind of moment when you see striker on striker
a little
violence.
scary, a little scary there.
I think that's a great way to put it though, Grayson. Latte Lot will find himself in Atlanta. It's just a patch right now.
Yeah. Next matchup, we've got one that I'm honestly kind of happy about because I called it New England are on a roll. They were not guaranteed, but favored to win this match against Toronto, and they would handle them 2-0. Two first half goals making the difference. Once again, man of the moment, can't stop saying his name, Carl's Hill, goal of the week nominee. For me here, first time volley, placing it top left corner, just
Dude.
so
I mean,
perfect.
what makes that finish look goal of the week worthy to me is the casual nature in which he pulls that out. He make that look so easy. I encourage you to go try that, and it will take you so many times. It would take me forever to do that too. He pulled it off and
Yeah,
just jogs away, just so casual about it. Yeah, former MLS MVP on a Supporters Shield
yeah,
winning team here. Yeah, that's me. Just
yeah.
a reminder, I think, to the league of who he is.
He takes it in his stride, literally hits it so smoothly. It was
Oh,
great. It was great. Second goal from Leo Campana on the counter attack. Carlos Hill starts off the counter. I don't remember who he feeds, but someone plays a perfect ball in, and Campana takes it down the pitch, slots it bottom left corner, make it 2-0. Honestly, could have been a worse game for Toronto, but Sean Johnson is so good. Former NYCFC man. Sean Johnson is just a really good keeper. He's been around the U.S. men's national team as well. Just another one of these fantastic MLS goalies.
Hmm.
So, next match I want to talk about is Philly beating Montreal, and we've got another St. Louis former goal scorer to add to the list here because it would start off very, very good for Philly.
Hmm.
Beautiful team goal, one touch give and goes in their own half to beat the press, releasing Indiana Vassilev on the other side. Hits it one time, curling finish to the top right post. Us St. Louis City fans know that Indiana Vassilev has got a banger in his bag, so that's no surprise. I think the question is how consistent can he do that for Philly, for whatever team he plays for? I love Indiana Vassilev. Hopefully he can keep up the form. We'll see it. Um, right on the verge of halftime, a cross bounces very fortunately for Giacomo Vrioni. He pounces on it, burying it, making it 1-1. Honestly, pretty tense game from here on out, especially for Philly. You wouldn't expect Montreal to be sitting in this game for so long, but there is a shout for a penalty as well. Dante Seeley from Montreal drives into the box, hits some good moves, right, left, right, cuts back in, and it looks from first glance, it looks like he just loses his footing and slips. Ref, no call, but it would be recommended to go to VAR because in the VAR review, there was contact from the defender on Dante Seeley's foot, and the ref sticks by his original call. Honestly, if that were me, I probably would have given the pen
Hmm.
um, because there is contact. Although it does look like he goes down very easily. Uh, like the player literally sticks his foot out, and yeah, I'm honestly very surprised. I think this very well could have been a PK for Montreal,
Same.
but yeah, it would go on.
Well, I would just wonder how that penalty kick changes the game. Right? We can assume that Montreal makes it and they really make it a game in Philadelphia, which, I mean, if you think about how that could impact a team like Montreal's season, I believe they're bottom of the East right now. They haven't really had any positive results to think about. I just, they're hurting right now, a team that is looking for anything that they can get. And so I think if they can manage to get a good win over a team like Philadelphia or a top five team in the East, at least just a team that is competing, that'll bode well for them.
Yep. Last but not least, Ure would get a game winner here in the 83rd, powering it home past the keeper, stealing 3 points from a very desperate Montreal. Unlucky. Honestly, they could have came home with 3 points here, but whatever. Honestly, this was my game to watch for this week here. We had Columbus Crew facing off against Charlotte FC.
What a game.
Yeah. And Chamos opens it up in the 24th, burying a rebound off of a save from a long shot. It's too easy for him here. This one is honestly on the keeper. He gives it away in the first place with a terrible clearance and then just lets the rebound get away from him. They double it with a PK from Rossi, who either celebrates like a T-Rex or Raheem Sterling. I don't really know what he's going for here, but he's like running around like this. I don't know. It's very, very interesting celebration there. Um,
Okay.
and then Zaha would actually get his goal off of a penalty call in this match, making it 2-1. And then another St. Louis City former player to add to the list, AZ Jackson gets his with a nice finish to the bottom right corner or bottom left corner, 3-1.
I
Then,
wish Jacob were here to say something
dude,
about that.
I don't know if he would say something or just look angry and just
Deadpan.
um Abada would make it 3-2, keeping Charlotte's hopes alive after the keeper barely taps it, trying to punch it away. It goes right to Abada, who buries it. He kind of slices it home. Nice little volley there. But Russell Rowe would finish off the match with a nice little header connecting on a cross from Max Arston, who's also having a fantastic season.
No kidding.
Columbus is just going crazy right now. They had a pretty slow start. They got a lot of wins, but
Yeah.
now they're putting in the goals on top of these wins too. So,
Well, dude, it's funny because we thought they started slow. I remember sitting here in this exact spot and saying, I don't know about Columbus, man. They're 3 games in. They only got 2 wins or something like that. They
yeah.
don't look super convincing right now. They don't look like the Columbus of years previous. And since they were missing Cucho Hernandez, I think that a lot of people were calling into question where that they would be getting the goals from. Don Rossi has stepped up.
Yeah, he is that guy. Next match, we got Miami putting four past the Red Bulls, who scored one. Miami Stars were all back in the starting 11 this week after losing 3 straight games. They're looking to bounce back. Fafa Pico gets his in the 10th minute pretty early on. And then Marcelo Weigand, I don't know. Argentinian right back would power one home, kind of. It was very scrappy. He's very scrappy. He's already on the ground when the ball kind of gets away from the keeper and he sneaks a foot in and taps it bottom left corner. Very sloppy, but it would be ruled offsides initially, but after VAR takes a peek, there is a tiny little sliver of the
Oh,
defender keeping him onside and making it 2-0. Luis Suarez is back on the score sheet, getting his own rebound and burying it. And then I don't know, this one's a little weird here. So it looks like Sufo from the Red Bulls chips the keeper and it bounces back post, but it looks like Choupo-Moting would stab at it and get the final touch. Fop Mob credits Sofo with the goal. I think Choupo-Moting did get a touch on it to claim the goal, but I don't really know.
mm.
Either way, one goal back, but the inevitable Lionel Messi would get his final one, making it 4-1 by boxing out a defender twice his size and then smashing home a little half volley. It's just class. It's just
Okay, Leo.
Messi class. Messi class. Uh, for a 0-0 draw, Orlando versus Chicago was very dramatic, a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Chicago would start off the game looking very, very good after last week's thrashing from Nashville. They needed to bounce back. They had a bunch of chances early on, but one ball over the top and from Orlando, and Chris Brady lays out the striker trying to clear it, and it's a red card. Chicago loses their keeper in the first 30 minutes of this match.
Tough.
And going up against a team like Orlando, you'd think you would be fucked.
Hmm.
But actually, Chicago looked to be the better of the two sides after this. It was very strange. They'd even almost take the lead when a Pineda shot gets deflected onto the post. Hugo Kuipers almost scores in the 63rd with a header. Zinkernagel looked really, really good, just cutting and dicing up the Orlando defense. Orlando's Ojeda would also smack one off the post. Marco Pasalic hits the crossbar. It's just left and right. There's chances flying in, and no one can beat the post.
Damn.
Keepers did fine, but the posts were the best man of the match in this game. I've got one more match to talk about, and that is an upset here. NYCFC sneaks one past Cincinnati.
Crazy.
Yeah, they cool down, inform Cincy. Great job with the high press early on. They steal the ball in Cincy's half and even had a chance to make it two when they got a PK, but Martinez would smack it against the post again. Denke also scores, but he's ruled offsides, and that's a massive 3 points for NYCFC. And Cincy just struggled this match, and they had a full stacked squad this week too. So it was an interesting one to say the least. But I think what's very interesting is the table. Atlanta sits in 13th place.
Shocking, dude. Nobody predicted Atlanta being in 13th place.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you got NYCFC in seventh, like climbing the table still. Um, but let's talk about the top five. Of course, you got Columbus up top, 2 points clear of Philly and Cincy, tied for second on 22 points. We've got Miami trailing a point behind them. And it seems like Charlotte's been on a really bad run of form, but they're still in fifth, only 5 points behind league leaders Columbus. So
Yep.
it's still anyone's game here. We're still all competing for Supporters Shield, so I think there's still a lot to play for here.
Well, Grayson, only 7 points separate 10th place and second place in the East. Ooh, that's the New York Red Bulls sitting on 15th points,
Yep.
are 7 points behind the Philadelphia Union in second place. It might be a little too far out of reach for first. I think Columbus is only really being challenged by Miami, Cincy, and Philly right now. But I love looking at the MLS table right now. It's a very, very competitive league. And in my opinion, there is no clear favorite right now. I think that the Vancouver Whitecaps are the number one team in the league. They are rightfully sitting on top of the Supporters Shield. But Columbus and Philly, definitely going to be challenging. Cincinnati seem to be finding their own. What do you think, man? I know that dropping a game to New York City FC is not a good result, but I think that
Mhm.
people are kind of sleeping on New York City FC, dude.
I think Cincy is a good side. I don't think they're on the caliber of Philly and the Crew or Miami, even
Really?
Miami. Yeah. Um,
Really? You don't think that they have a good enough defense to compete with the likes of Inter Miami? Like Matt Miazga and Miles Robinson, those don't do it for you?
I'd say on paper they do it for me, but this season it's just not as good as they need it to
Wow.
be, in
You
my
know,
mind, a clear challenger.
okay.
I think they're they're
Okay, Grayson.
probably they're probably like A tier, but they're not S tier yet.
You know what? I will give you a little bit of credit for that take because while I feel a little differently, I think that Roman Celentano is a good goalkeeper. I've seen him make some good saves. I don't think he's championship quality goalkeeper. Okay. When I think of
Interesting.
championship quality, I think of someone like Patrick Schulte for the Columbus Crew, someone that is consistently coming up with those big saves. And personally, I just haven't seen enough of Roman Celentano. I just don't know enough about him. So you can call it my own ignorance, but I don't. I think you're onto something. I don't think Cincinnati are going to be the best team in the league when all is said and done. I think they will compete though.
Like I think Evander is fantastic. I think he truly is an MVP candidate player, but I don't know
No
if he
doubt.
could carry that team. And he doesn't have to because he has players like Kevin Denke now
Hmm.
and other players around him, but at the same time, even with them, you're losing to NYCFC.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. That's not a great result for me to be trying to like back FC Cincy right now, but I do think that Kevin Denke and Evander are two
That's a great duo.
strong enough attackers to carry the attack, and they have a decent enough supporting cast. Okay, because I
Yeah.
do think that Kubo is B tier. Okay, I'll put him like around there,
Okay.
BC. DeAndre Yedlin has enough experience in this league and in the game to be a good MLS wingback. And I think that Lucas Engel is. I talked about him last week. He's coming into his own. He's a young player for Cincinnati. I think that he right now could have the quality. So I think we might see Cincy a little bit differently right now, Grayson. I think they might be competing.
We'll see. We'll see.
Does that wrap up the East though?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that
That is
everyone?
all I've got on Eastern Conference notes. So, yeah,
Well, no Jacob means no goal of the week this week. I I'll wear that one. I just think that the City Boys just had a little bit of miscommunication there. But you know what it does mean is that the lovely watchers of this podcast get to comment their nomination for the match day 11 goal of the week. Please let us know what you thought was the best goal. I, to my knowledge, there were no real outstanding bangers.
Carlos Heel.
That's a great goal. Don't get me
I
wrong.
think
A
that's a
goal that not the average soccer player is scoring.
yeah.
It's not
I
goal of
don't
the
think
year
anyone's.
contender though.
I wouldn't say goal of the year. I say definitely goal of the week for me.
Okay. Okay. You know
Definitely.
what, Grayson? I think you and I can make a consensus pick on that because I also really like Carlos Hill's goal. So you and I can officially nominate it for goal of the week.
Okay, bet.
I'm interested in what the fans have to say as well.
Maybe there were some great goals in Miami's game. Yeah, that's a hard one. There's not too many crazy bangers this week, but
Knew whose goal against St. Louis City.
I think even Kahima. I think partly just because I love him, but it's
Man, I mean,
also kind of if the keeper doesn't touch it and it's
mhm.
completely clean,
I
goal of the
think
week nominee.
yeah. If he hits that one to
Um,
the far post and Stefan can't get down to it, that's a mean looking goal. But
but you also get bonus points because the keeper still got to it and could not keep it out.
mm,
So it doesn't look as visually pleasing, but
no.
it's probably better, you know?
Hmm.
Tricky one.
We'll
Ah,
let the fans decide. Let us
yeah.
know down below who had the goal of the week. But Grayson, you want to do the outro for us tonight?
Yeah, for sure. This is on YouTube, so please, if you are watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment below, tell us your goal of the week. Tell us which team in the MLS you hate the most. We'll see. We'll see. If you're listening on Spotify, please add it to a playlist, add it to a random playlist, party playlist, so that when you're at a party, the music stops and you randomly hear us arguing. That sounds lovely. And then, yeah, if you don't do any of that, please do this one thing. Please tell your mother that you love her. Peace. MLS, MLS,
MLS,
MLS,
MLS.
MLS,
I damn near
MLS.
forgot what our chant was at the end.